Sometimes a missing person case starts out, well, like any other, but then it just unravels. And what you find underneath is a story so dark, so twisted, it makes you question everything. This is one of those stories. It's a case built on secrets and lies, and it ends with something so horrific, nobody could have seen it coming. All right, let's just start right here. If I die, it may not be an accident, even if it looks like one. Just let that sink in. These are the words of Susan Powell, a young mother of two, and she wrote this in a secret will a year and a half before she disappeared. A sentence like that, it just hangs over this entire story, doesn't it? It's absolutely chilling. So this is the family we're talking about. Susan and Joshua Powell, and their two little boys, Charlie and Braden. On the surface, living there in West Valley City, Utah, they looked like any other young family. But as we're about to find out, what was going on behind closed doors was anything but typical. It was deeply, deeply troubled. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. The day is December 6, 2009. It starts out as just a normal Sunday, church, family time. But by the end of it, everything had changed. It became a total mystery. So the first real red flag pops up on Monday morning, December 7th. The kids, Charlie and Braden, they just don't show up to daycare. Family members start calling, nobody's picking up. Finally, they get worried enough to call the police. And when the officers get there, they have to force their way into the house. What do they find? Pretty much nothing. Just an empty, silent home. And right away, the scene inside the house is just weird. There are immediate red flags all over the place. For one, Susan's purse, her wallet, her ID, all of it was left behind. Who leaves without that stuff? But the strangest thing of all? Cops find two big box fans blasting air at a wet spot on the couch. It's like someone was desperately trying to clean something up and dry it fast. So, the mystery is already starting to build, right? Well, later that day, Joshua Powell finally shows up with the boys. And you'd think this would clear things up? Nope. His story for where they'd been, well, it just made everything a whole lot stranger. So get this. Joshua's alibi is that he decided to take his two toddlers, we're talking a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, on a spontaneous camping trip after midnight in the middle of a Utah blizzard. He says he just left Susan sleeping at home and took off. Think about that. It's December. It's freezing. Who does that? The story was just unbelievable from the get-go. And of course, his story just completely falls apart under any scrutiny. The police go out to the spot he said they camped. Did they find a campsite? Nope. No fire, no footprints, nothing. Then he says, "Oh, I thought it was Sunday," to explain missing work. Okay, but what about the kids' daycare? That was scheduled for Monday morning. None of it made sense. The pieces just didn't fit. And then his behavior gets even weirder. We're talking just 2 days after Susan vanishes. He gets out of his second police interview, goes straight to a rental car company, and then drives 807 miles. That's an 18-hour round trip. And when the police ask him where he went, he has zero explanation. Absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, the case against him is really starting to build. Investigators find traces of Susan's blood on the floor at home. And Joshua? He starts acting like a guy who knows his wife is never coming home. He's cashing out her retirement accounts, yanking the kids out of daycare. But maybe the most chilling thing? A coworker comes forward and says Joshua had asked him how to hide a body. Specifically, how to dump one down an abandoned mine shaft. Just, wow. It's always tricky with testimony from kids this young, but this is just haunting. At his daycare, little Braden, who's only 2, reportedly tells a caregiver, "Mommy was in the trunk." He even drew a picture, they said, of their van, with him and his brother and his dad in the front, and his mom in the back. A statement like that, even from a toddler, sends a shiver down your spine. So as the police start digging into Joshua's background, they realize this isn't just a family with problems. The whole dynamic was, well, it was more than just dysfunctional. It was dangerously toxic. It turns out Joshua's own father, Susan Powell, had this creepy, obsessive infatuation with Susan. And it had been going on for years.
We're talking thousands of photos and videos he took of her without her knowing. He stole her underwear. He read her private journals. I mean, this was a massive source of tension in Susan and Joshua's marriage, way before she ever went missing.
And the suspicion didn't stop with the father. Joshua's brother, Michael, also gets on the police radar. Why? Because right after Susan disappears, he suddenly sells his car to a wrecking yard. Super suspicious, right? Police manage to find the car, and when they bring in a cadaver dog, it hits on the trunk. The dog smelled human remains, leaving police to believe Michael helped his brother get rid of Susan's body. So here we are. The investigation has kind of stalled. There are no arrests. The focus starts to shift to the boys, Charlie and Brayden, and who should be taking care of them. And it's this custody battle that is going to lead to the absolute most horrifying part of this entire story. Okay, so after Joshua's father, Stephen, gets arrested for all that creepy stuff we talked about, the court steps in, and they make a huge decision. They decide Joshua is a danger to his own kids, and they grant temporary custody to Susan's parents. Joshua is now only allowed to see his boys during supervised visits. And that decision, sadly, is what triggers the final tragic act. And what happened next it's just unthinkable. It's February 5th, 2012. A social worker brings Charlie and Brayden to Joshua's house for one of those supervised visits. He grabs the boys, pulls them inside, and slams the door on the social worker's face, locking it. Just minutes later, she's on the phone with 911, screaming that she can smell gasoline. The house explodes. It was a murder-suicide, and the details that came out later are just pure horror. Before setting the fire, Joshua had attacked his own children, his 2 little boys, with a hatchet. Just minutes before, he'd sent out goodbye emails, calmly giving instructions for what to do with his money. The last words were, "I'm sorry, goodbye." It was his final, disgusting act of control. So now the prime suspect in Susan's disappearance is dead. And the case is just stuck. It's left in this terrible limbo with a trail of death and just so many unanswered questions. And the deaths didn't stop there. Almost exactly a year after Joshua's murder-suicide, his brother Michael, the one police suspected helped him, he also died by suicide. Then, in 2018, their father Stephen dies of natural causes. And just like that, one by one, all of the central figures in this investigation are gone. And whatever secrets they had about what happened to Susan, well, they took them to the grave. So that's pretty much where the official investigation ends. In 2013, the police closed the active case. But here's the thing. Closed doesn't mean solved. Not at all. The police were very clear about what they believe happened, that Joshua murdered Susan and Michael helped him dispose of the body. But without a body, without a confession, they could never actually charge anyone. And that's the devastating reality that Susan's family has to live with every single day. After all this time, all the searching, all the pain, Susan Powell is still officially listed as a missing person. Her parents have no body to bury, no grave to visit, they have no final answers, and no real sense of peace. So it leaves us with this one huge, lingering question, right? With all the main suspects gone, what does justice for Susan Powell even look like now? It's a story that started with a mother's secret, desperate fear for her own life and ended in this absolute firestorm of violence. And you're just left wondering, how do you get justice when the truth is buried forever with the very people who refuse to tell it?